All right, we are live, and I would like to call this meeting of the Pool Feasibility and Design Exploration Ad Hoc Committee to order. If I could have everyone turn on their microphones, you hold down the button and it'll turn green. If you wish to have yourself muted, you may press the button once and it will turn yellow, and then you just press it again to turn it back on to speak. Okay. All right. Today is Thursday, March 19th, 2026. It's currently 6:01 p.m. Thanks everybody for being here. I really appreciate it. It's very exciting to have our first fully seated committee meeting. This is the start of a lot of work to sort of figure out what direction we're going in with this pool. And so we're going to follow our agenda here Sorry about that. We'll start off by taking attendance. So I'll go in alphabetical order. Bruckman? Here. Caldwell here. Guerrero? Here. Kostelny? Here. Kaczynski? Kaczynski? No? Lija? Here. Linares Herrera? Munoz? Here. Nesbitt? Ridge. Sahagun Baena.
Here.
Simbi.
Here.
Terabur.
Here.
Velez.
Here.
All right. Motion to excuse Kaczynski, Linares Herrera, and Ridge and Velez.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Thank you. All right, we will open by doing open forum. So this is an opportunity for members of the public to come and speak, to share their thoughts, and they can address the committee. If there's anybody who would like to address, you can step forward. We're all just looking right at you. All right, thank you. So we'll move on then straight into our agenda if nobody would like to speak during open forum. First thing that I want to do is just introductions with the committee. So since this is the first time that that we have our committee present, just want to take a few minutes to do introductions so everybody knows who's around the table. So all that I ask is that you just share your name, who you represent, if it's applicable, and maybe a sentence or two about why you wanted to be part of this committee. So we'll try to keep this brief just so that we have time for discussion of other items. We can discuss afterwards and get more in depth at later points. So I just want to make sure that we have time for everything that we have on the agenda for today. So I can start. My name is Micah Caldwell. I'm the first ward alderman here in Berwyn and am part of the city of Berwyn and also the chair of the committee. I wanted to be part of this effort because I think that the pool in particular at the rec center is one of our greatest public amenities that we have here in the city, and I really want to see this project succeed and to have something that we can be proud of as a city come into fruition. So we can go in order maybe if we want to just start at this end.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ines Sagun Baena. I've been a resident of Berwyn for over 30 years. I'm interested in being in this committee because I am an avid user of the pool. I currently go to the Y 3 times a week to swim, and I do use the summer time to go to the pool for free, but I do believe there's a lot of work to be done to maximize that opportunity for all of our residents. So I'm here. I'm glad to be here.
Hello, my name is Juan. I actually just recently moved back to Berwyn. I lived here from 4th grade through high school. I actually worked at the pool for 10 years, so it was my first job ever. So I'm kind of coming back and trying to see it coming back together, bring it back up was kind of a great opportunity. So I decided to apply for the committee. So I guess I worked in aquatics for over 15 years. I worked at the Y in Florida for a couple of years, and the one in Berwyn for a little bit. So now I'm here.
My name is Chris Nesbitt. I have lived in Berwyn since 2009, and I have 2 kids, and as a family, we're avid pool users, but professionally, I also do a lot of capital planning work and project management and, you know, multiple funding streams, no pun intended, all kinds of stuff like that. So I was interested in kind of bringing some of that professional skill set to help something that I care about.
I'm Liz Simby. Lived in Berwyn for 11 years now. I have 4 kids, which I take to the pool a lot. There's multiple times over the past 3 years where get them all ready, we can walk the 3 blocks to get there, the pool's closed. So I'm hoping that we can make the pool better and more accessible and easier. And I also love the adult swim too. Love the time to be like, no kids splashing me. I have an hour to just enjoy it. So I'm really hoping to, make the pool better and happy to be part of this committee.
And Liz, who are you representing? Are you representing the township, right? As
Yes.
part of the.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know what? No one actually told me that officially. Officially, that's why I was like, wait, am I representing? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I know.
Awesome, thanks.
I am Richard Leja, Ward Alderman here in Berwyn. I've been here since 1980. I've seen a tremendous change. What we've been doing, building and rebuilding a long time. It's getting better. The roads, the drainage, everything. And I think it is time for the pool. Because I like you said one of our previous answers. I think we need to do whatever we can to make it better.
Hi everyone, I'm Gretchen Hawes-Castelny. I'm President of the Board of Commissioners for the Berwyn Park District. I was eager to join this committee because in addition to my belief that recreation is important for residents, for citizens, from a mental health and public well-being perspective, I believe in the importance from a public health and well-being perspective of having access to a pool and swimming instruction for residents of every age. I learned how to swim when I was 3. I joined the swim team when I was 3, so I spent a lot of time in a pool during my life, and I'm really thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm Elizabeth Terabor. I've lived in Berwyn for about 10 years. I am a licensed clinical social worker, but in a former life, I did the job like Juan, where I managed a community pool, trained the lifeguards, things like that. And when I moved here, my first attempts to go to the pool were met with, it's not open yet, and we don't know when it's going to be open. And I have actually never been to the pool in Berwyn, even though I spent my whole life swimming, same thing, swim team all my life, things like that. So happy to see that there's an opportunity to make it better.
My name is Catherine Munoz. I've been a resident for Berwyn for 32 years. Both of my daughters have worked in the rec as a lifeguard and as a check-in girl. We've been going there for 20 years. I love the pool. I want to drive, and I represent the rec. Did I say that? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Bruckman. I'm the 7th Ward Alderwoman. So in addition to that, I have a background in a master's in public policy. So looking at the pool and frankly the funding of it and different mechanisms, I want to take a close look at that and how we can work as a community to make a decision on the needs and the wants and make sure that it reflects the entire community. I too am an avid swimmer. Was at the Y with my mom in swim lessons at a year and a half, but I wasn't on a swim team. I did in high school, and I still swim a couple times a week, and whether it's indoor at Loyola or outdoor at the rec during the adult swim, I like to do that as well. So excited to get this moving.
So I'm Tara Tischer. I'm the Superintendent of Recreation at North Berwyn Park District. Joe is sorry he could not make it this evening. I worked there for the last 13 years, and I not only get to work there, but I also live in North Berwyn, so it's very special. And of course, we've enjoyed the rec as well, and I think this is a great way to improve it.
And I'll just add, Mike said he's coming. He thought it was at 6:30, so he'll be
Great.
in a minute.
All right, thank you. All right, well, thank you everyone for sharing. It's great to see so many different backgrounds and different experiences that I think will be really helpful and inform this work, as well as all of the work that we'll do with the community too, and bringing them in this process. All right, let's move on to item 5 on the agenda, which is approval of the minutes from March 5th, 2026. This was a meeting that was just between the 3 alders to bring on the community representatives. So feel free to take a look over it, and then if someone would like to make a motion.
I move to accept the minutes from
Second.
the previous meeting.
All right, motion by Bruckman, second by Leisha, to approve the minutes from the March 5th, 2026 meeting.
Come on in.
All those in favor?
Micah,
Yes.
you stole his microphone.
All right. Well, let's take a vote really quick. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. You can abstain if you'd like. Great, thank you. Can I ask somebody to share a microphone?
I can share it.
All right. Mike, we're on item 5. We just completed approving the minutes. We already introduced folks, but I'd like to make a motion to return back to item 4 in order to give Mike the opportunity to introduce himself to the committee.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Mike, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and what it was that interested you in joining this committee?
I've been a resident of Berwyn since 2002. Richard and I know each other real well. I'm a former president of the Berwyn YMCA. I think what I bring to the table, I've underwrote 3 bond issues for the city of Berwyn, 1 city of Berwyn, and 2 city of Berwyn Park districts. So know quite a bit about public finance. So.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. Let's move on then to item 6 on the agenda, which is an overview of the committee's purpose and scope. What you'll find in your packet is the communication that formed this committee initially from the mayor. I really just want to discuss this and make sure that we're all on the same page about what the purpose of the committee is, just to ground us in why the committee was created and what we've been asked to do. So in this communication, the committee was formed to evaluate options for the future of Berwyn's public pool facility. That includes looking at potential design concepts, possible partnership opportunities, and different approaches to funding a project if the city ultimately chooses to move forward. So the committee itself is intentionally structured to bring together a lot of different perspectives, as we've already heard. It includes representatives from City Council, the Parks District, Berwyn Township, the Recreation Department, the City Treasurer, and 6 community members from different parts of Berwyn. The idea behind that structure is to make sure that this conversation includes the people and organizations that would realistically be involved in a project like this, while making sure that residents themselves have a seat at the table as well. So I also think it's important to emphasize that this is an advisory committee. So our role is to gather information, to hear from residents, to evaluate possibilities, and then ultimately to provide a recommendation to City Council. And we want to make sure that that recommendation is reasonable, realistic, and something that is achievable, right, versus having something that sounds nice, but then nothing comes of it. So At the end of this process, the committee will present its findings and recommendations to City Council, and then the full City Council will ultimately decide whether to move forward with the project and what that project might look like. So, yeah, we want to be realistic, we want to be thoughtful, and we want something that City Council could realistically consider and approve instead of a wish list. Okay. The committee is also intended to be temporary, right? This is not an ongoing, until you die kind of committee. So once the committee completes its review and presents its recommendations, then the work will conclude. Once we present to City Council, then that would be when things finish. So the mayor suggested that some of our early focus should include organizing community listening sessions, reviewing background information about the existing pool facilities, and beginning to think about what a feasibility or design study might look like. So tonight is really the beginning of that process, and we're not really going to be making decisions about design at this point. We're really just laying the groundwork. So we're going to start organizing things. We're going to start identifying the information that we need, and start planning out next steps. Okay. Questions? Anything else to add, or other thoughts regarding the structure of the committee and the purpose and scope?
I do have a question. Do I raise my hand, or usually on calls you
Yes,
raise
go
your
ahead.
hand? Just the timeline. It wasn't clear to me. This is like you said, it's not forever. What is the timeline for the committee to do its work? I didn't find it on here.
Yeah, the timeline is from now until the recommendation is given to City Council. So, which is as long as we want it to be or need it to be, right, in order to get to that point. I think that we sort of as a group, have to come up with, okay, let's be realistic about setting a target for when we want this to conclude. And from that, maybe we can work backwards to create other like milestones that we need to hit in order to get to that point. That's sort of my thought.
Alderman.
I think also what we need to keep in mind that could inform some of that is if this is something that goes to a referendum, we would need to look at time frame on getting on a ballot, creating that system, and maybe work from there as well, just in trying to set some time frames.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It would, I think or next spring, or like January, February.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Great. Other questions or thoughts? Okay, all right. Great. Well, let's move on then to item number 7, which is just kind of the initial framing. So to start the conversation tonight, I just wanted to talk about 2 questions. I'd posed this to a few of you through email ahead of time, and I thought that it would be helpful for starting the conversation. So the goal here is to solve anything or to have any answers per se, but just to start thinking about the process and what matters most as we're moving forward. So the 2 questions that I pose to all of you is, what values or principles do you think should guide this process? And that's a very high-level question. The other one is, what's one question that you think must be answered about the future of the pool as part of this process? And I'll kind of open the floor for whoever would like to speak, and if anybody wants to share their brief thoughts. And I just ask that we keep comments, to 30-ish seconds, just so that everybody has an opportunity if they want.
I guess I can start. For your second question, I probably don't know the answer yet, but I was trying to figure out what maintenance the pool needs going forward, because I know it's a pretty old pool and it's been through some stuff. So what does that look like financially? What actually needs to get fixed? And more of a long-term sort of like Band-Aids to kind of fix the short-term problems.
I'll kind of throw out a question as well that piggybacks off of that, which is we sort of have to determine whether it would be better to try to repair what exists currently, or whether, creating something new would be a better route to go. And I don't have an answer on that either. So definitely something to explore.
Can I ask, how old is the pool at the rec?
I forgot my notebook. I had a
We can-
notebook with everything.
That's a good question to ask. It's quite
I'm
old.
sure there's a lot of new technology that's come out now with pools. That, yeah, it might be worth it.
Yeah.
Is it, do you know, as the representative from the rec?
I don't. I know some of the people who've been going there for a very long time. Like, 60 years? Yeah.
Can you get that information?
Yeah.
So then I can go.
Yes, I have it in my notebook that I forgot, so. Look at it.
But is there an evaluation or assessment of the pool?
I don't have the answer to that.
Okay, I
but
think
yeah,
that
it's
would be a good way
it's a
to
really good
start.
question.
How good or bad?
Yeah, I agree with that as far as if there was, what, and Rich, maybe you have this, you have this from your info that your research that you did, but as far as current, if we were to take the current situation, what is existing right now that speaks to work that would need to be done to upgrade or even maintain at a level, and does that mean 10 years? Does it mean 20 years? As far as lifespan, and what exists right now? I think we need that as a group, but also I would assume that the rec has something that you can share. To help us inform that decision.
And with that, I would think the rec would have this information, probably do a yearly review, but I know that last summer they touted it as being one of the most attended pool sessions. There was a demand for the pool, extra hours because of the heat, so there must be at least attendance as some sort of tracking of the need for consistent hours, for full resources and such.
I do want to note, just because it sounds like we're kind of going this direction, item 9 on the agenda, we'll be talking about what background information we want to seek, that kind of thing. I think that is going to be really important, just to make sure that we're having an informed discussion rather than, making something up that doesn't match with the reality of what without knowing what we already have currently.
So Berwyn has a population of around 60,000 people, and we have one pool. So what's the vision of this pool? What are we trying to accomplish here? What's the main intent of this committee? That pool is relatively old. I use it, and there's many of us that use it. I will just say what's on my mind. The pool needs major renovations. Okay, so we should try to look at this as something the city of Berwyn can be proud of, the entire city. North side, south side, central Berwyn, so.
Yeah.
Just kind of thinking about what you just said about having 60,000 residents, the Berwyn Park District just went through a master planning process, and there are guidelines that exist about how many recreation amenities you ought to have in a municipality for certain numbers of residents, and I don't have the figure offhand, but I would suspect that our one pool is probably still below the federal guidelines for numbers of pool amenities we ought to have in town. So I do think it's a very important, it's not just important, I think, from a recreation perspective. I'm approaching this from a public health and safety kind of mindset too. But I do think in terms of values, principles, and questions that need to be answered, we need to approach this in a way that's fiscally responsible, fiscally reasonable, that's looking at the short-term requirements for funding and the long-term requirements from a capital planning mindset for its maintenance into the future. And I think the one question that we need to answer, if I can frame it as a question, is, what does an expert say about what we already have? Has an engineer looked at it? What's functional, what's not functional, what's savable, what can't be saved. And I think once we can get that expert perspective, we can have then a really focused, tight conversation on whether we're talking about replacing or repairing what's already there. And then I think that leads itself to a more concise conversation about the funding requirements, et cetera. So to me, that's a very important step to get out of the way very quickly in the process, or early, I should say, in the process.
Great, thanks.
Are we going to talk about like, what is it, that Freedom Park, that like splash pad area? Are we talking about any other pools or?
If it's within the city of Berwyn jurisdiction, yes. If it's outside of that, unfortunately, it kind of falls outside the purview. It can be part of, you know, the overall discussion, but since the city doesn't really have control over those, like the splash pads that are part of the park districts, then it, you know, we can't say like, oh, we're gonna fix that and do something with it. So it can certainly be part of like talking about what amenities are currently available in the city, but you know, the focus has to be on city-owned property.
Right, so the focus is just the rec center pool is I'm just trying to.
Yeah, rec center pool, or you know, as is kind of being discussed, expanding amenities within the city of Berwyn as well. That can be part of the discussion. That's sort of the direction that the committee wants to go in.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm always happy to answer those questions, though. I know this is not the forum, but I can share information about Freedom if you're ever interested.
Great. Awesome.
I think in terms of values, that kind of thinking of the pool potentially as like a much needed third space across the whole age spectrum, and a place where people who may not normally encounter each other can collectively like share space. And I think making sure that whatever the plan is, that it has that level of accessibility across those different age spectrums, demographic spectrums, whatever, locations within Berwyn. I think making it like a collective shared space for the city is really important.
You kind of said what I was going to say, but I was going to say in terms of values, accessibility, whether that's physically being able to get there or having something there that you're interested in. I know that one of the major problems with pools is because there's such limited space, scheduling things so that everybody can use the pool, so there can be, you know, a swim team and swim lessons and, you know, rentals and events. That's very difficult to do and then just still have open time at the pool. So making sure that we have enough space and time that everybody does get to use the pool for what they want to use it for.
Great. Other thoughts? Again, the questions were, what values or principles should guide this process? What's one question you think must be answered about the future of the pool? I'm hearing themes of accessibility, of balancing needs, of making it financially responsible and feasible for construction and also maintenance, and then a lot of questions about, you know, status of the pool. You know, a lot of that was around that, but also what exists right now, what's current attendance, those kinds of things, and then getting an expert feedback on where the pool is right now, the current rec pool. Anything else that anyone would like to add to that?
I think is another, maybe it's a value or a principle, is kind of creating something that will be climate responsive and climate ready, like climate change ready, that you know, isn't necessarily contributing to issues and you know, isn't creating runoff or various things, but just being climate friendly.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. those are helpful starting points, so we can keep building off of that as we move forward. There's going to be a lot more questions, I think, as we dive into this, so we can keep that conversation going. All right, let's move on to item 8, which is just talking generally about how the committee is going to work. So I just want to have a short discussion about the committee and how we're going to operate. So there's just some practical questions that I think we need to hash out early on. The first is about schedule and sort of determining meeting frequency. So this gets to talking about timeline, right, and how fast or slow we want to go. My kind of initial thought is, at least at the start here, meeting monthly might be a good option, because I think that gives us enough time to review info between meetings, but we still keep things moving, right? And things don't sit for too long. But I'm curious to hear other people's thoughts. Does that seem reasonable? Does that seem too frequent, too infrequent? Where are people standing right now?
That sounds good to me, to start with. Once a month.
So I do have a question of the work to be done between meetings. Is there a platform to be used, anything digital, or workspace?
So, no. As of right now, due to some limitations of the Open Meetings Act, most of the work that's done collaboratively has to happen here in an open forum so that others, people of the public, can participate, and so that there's transparency around what happens in these meetings. So you know, there can be communication that happens between less than half of majority of the quorum of the group. So I think small groups can discuss issues that come up around the pool committee, but we're not going to be using Slack or anything like that to talk about this stuff.
And then as if we're talking about structure of a committee, sometimes a committee has subcommittees, like someone's doing finance, someone is doing focus groups.
You're reading my mind. That's going to be my next topic here. So I just want to get kind of a straw poll. Does monthly seem to work for everybody? Can we get nods or shaking heads?
Yes.
Yeah? All right, great. Excellent. Thank you, everybody. Then we will set that up toward the end of the meeting today. All right, the second topic is exactly what you brought up, which is talking about subcommittees. So I think it would be smart to consider organizing into these smaller groups that are tailored toward specific topics. So finance would be one, I think, while it's maybe not very pressing right now. Programming down the line, I think, would be one that would be worth having. Facility design, I think, might also be an important subcommittee. That's what I could come up with so far. Other thoughts?
I have an idea. It should maybe one subcommittee be in charge of the public gatherings, like
There should
I think that's a
definitely
great
be
idea.
Public engagement to
and
get buy-in.
executing those. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Thoughts on how to implement this? You know, folks might have subcommittees that they take more interest in or less interest in. You know, this is not something that we're going to be deciding tonight in terms of who will be in what subcommittee, but just in terms of determining that in the future. Is there a particular way that you would like that to happen? Do you want to do like a ranking kind of thing? And then, you know, figuring out who goes where, or I could just kind of pick people and then, you know, and sort of follow through. And if anybody says, you know what, I don't want to be part of that subcommittee, then we can try to move things around. Where are people at?
Well, if we decide what the subcommittees will be, if this is all that we will have or more, and then people could just say what they're interested in and what they'd like to be on.
Yeah, makes sense.
I mean, add some more too, I don't know.
Yeah, actually, I might have cut off the conversation too early. Are there other subcommittees that folks feel should be added to this list?
Well, I kind of think it would be helpful to have some of that background lay of the land information all kind of collectively shared before, and kind of have an understanding before settling on specific subcommittees, because that might reveal, some of that early stage work might reveal some directions that would be helpful to have that deeper dive in. And then in terms of the public engagement piece, I feel like at the early stages too, that, you know, that looks one way in terms of getting, like, what are all the interests and needs, whereas kind of later down the road, if it's coming to like a referendum or something like that, it's a very different type of public engagement. So, I mean, I know personally I would be better at one of those than the other, and I think the same might be true. So we might have built some flexibility into it.
That makes sense, yeah. Other thoughts?
The main focus is we're looking to improve the pool's like infrastructure, or like we're like how, like what is like the main thing? Like I'm having problems like really finding ground to it, and like how do we implement it, and like what's like, so is it going to be then next year? Because obviously I don't think we could get anything done by June for it to open, right? And like, are we going to be able to have an effective like, okay, like, can we be like, we need standard hours, we need better communication, like, you know what I mean? Like, how does that get in effect there? Like, what's our main focus? Is it like all of the pieces, like, together, like the infrastructure of it, the design, also like the community engagement, the communication, like all of the things, all in?
We are not going to be, the focus of the committee will not be on like the functions of the rec necessarily, or how they might implement certain aspects of that. It's really going to be focused on the redevelopment of the pool, whether that be the existing or something that's new. So it's really going to be focused on coming up with the project rather than like getting into the nitty-gritty of operations. If that does that kind of clarify things a little bit? Yeah.
Do we have a budget for professional opinions about what's there and what needs to take place to make the pool more feasible in whatever form that takes?
As of right now, there's no money allocated to the committee. However, out of this, we could always present something to council for approval, right? So if it was deemed like, okay, we want to bring in an expert to do, you know, a structural engineer to evaluate the pool, it's going to cost this much, then that's something that could go through the formal approval process.
I might just mention then as a thought, or just a statement, make of this what you will.
Yeah.
I don't know how we can have a concrete discussion about budget required, or, you know, what concrete steps we need to take to make the pool more feasible, to implement a design, unless we have information from a professional who has evaluated what is existing and let us know, you know, just from a nuts and bolts perspective, what needs to be done.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I think that that's a good direction to go in. I think there's still background info that we can gather, and that's going to be maybe an important early step to take. And so that, while it's not something that's on the agenda for today, it's something that I could put on for the agenda next.
I'm just thinking, like, you know, looking at these subcommittees
that
you
sounds good.
proposed, I don't know if this would fall under the umbrella of a facility design committee, if you want some sort of subcommittee to spearhead this early, because we can have all the public listening sessions we want to, unless we know what it's gonna cost to bring the pool to 2026 or 2027 standards.
Right.
You know, I don't know how we can make those sessions meaningful without that information.
And I want to be clear, the listening sessions should kind of follow once we have all the kind of groundwork established, because I agree, there's no point in kind of just opening the floor and saying, what does everybody think? If the goal is not to have a wish list, you know, the goal really is to be grounded in reality and go this clear-eyed, so that we can present that to the public. Because otherwise, then they'd be disappointed too if we're not setting expectations from the outset. So I totally agree with you. Yeah.
So when you, just as a follow-up to that, when you said we would have to go back to city council for funding, would that not be till the end of the, or could, like, in 2 months, we could go to city council and say, we need this amount of money to get a structural expert? It doesn't have to be like, wait till the end of the process that we are.
No. Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So this could be as we're doing our work, and then, if that were something that were to come out of this committee, then it could be drawn up or written up and something that's put on the city council agenda and voted on.
Yes, I was going to say that too. I agree with this, both of them. And I think maybe tonight we should start planning on asking for some kind of a budget and maybe take something to the council, probably not for the first one coming up, but the next one. Because how else can we go ahead without some definitive answers of this can be fixed or this is a lost cause?
I wonder, because it's hard to know what the cost is for an evaluation. I wonder if that's something that could be put on for kind of our next meeting. Does that make sense to folks to kind of make that a big goal for our next meeting, is to have someone identified or something along those lines that then we could have a motion that comes out of the council or out of our committee that then goes to council. Yeah.
So just for clarity, because the rec is currently using the pool, do they not have any initial findings of the condition of the pool?
Yeah, they do have some, and I know that Alderman Leach has some.
I did I made notes and stuff and I talked to
Okay.
people, but there was nothing that I found of any engineer looking at it or anything, so.
I think
think
we
that-
need to do our due diligence and make sure that we have that information as a starting point, and just that. If there's nothing there, then that would be like an argument to request, well, we do need professional assessment.
Absolutely, yeah,
Okay.
I agree.
Right.
So, I want to make sure, because I think that this also kind of falls under the next item. I just want to wrap up, because it sounds like, okay, we've established frequency, we've talked about subcommittees. The only other thing that I have is sort of giving a little bit of homework going into this month, which is starting to get some feedback from friends, family, people in your community, or folks who you represent, asking them, what do they like about the pool currently? What do they wish were different? So this is nothing formal, right? This isn't going to be like our listening sessions, but we're really just trying to immerse ourselves in the community feedback side of things. The other homework that I'd like to assign each of you is just a visit of a pool facility, any pool, and to check it out, see what you think, and to notice, okay, what features does this have, what works well in this space. I think that's going to be important as well.
Micah,
Yes.
I have an idea. I like your idea of seeing other pools. I think all of us as a committee should go to the rec as a group.
Yes.
And make our own findings, and then have another discussion of what we think the pool should look like.
Yeah.
As a collective group here.
Yeah.
I think that's very important, because right now everybody's we're guessing on what needs to be done, so I think maybe the next meeting, we can go to the pool if it's a decent day. Maybe that's a good idea.
There has been discussion, we brought that up, the idea of holding a meeting there. There's advantages of doing it here because we have the live stream, but it's not a requirement. So we could, of course, go to the rec, and maybe we can discuss that as part of item 10, just to see where folks are landing, how they're feeling about that. So, cool. All right, let's move on to item 9, which is the community engagement public input. So as we are talking about this, this is going to be one of the most important parts of this process, just because the pool means a lot to a lot of different people here in Berwyn. And there's going to be a lot of opinions that we're going to hear and trying to balance. Not every opinion will be feasible, right? And so that's going to be a difficult part, and not all the feedback that we get will be able to be implemented. But the idea is to try to gather information and then make it usable for our purposes. So just as kind of a general, again, we don't want to put the cart ahead of the horse, but as a general approach, as we're thinking, once we have some of this groundwork information established, in terms of thinking about what we want this to look like, you know, we can approach this in a lot of different directions. Obviously, doing community listening sessions, we can do online surveys, we can reach out to specific groups that may have particular stock in the pool and those amenities, like athletic clubs, like families and seniors, and you know, swim programs, that kind of thing. But I want to open the floor just to kind of get any thoughts about how we can make sure that we're hearing from a broad range of residents.
I mean, this is, oh, I'm so sorry.
Do we raise our hands? What's the protocol for? Oh.
You know, we're pretty loose around
Okay.
here, but yeah, you can.
I would just say all modalities, because we have folks that are digitally savvy, we have folks that still use the printed form, and then languages. What are the community members speaking in our, I could say Spanish is one of them, so just to put that out there.
Great.
A big outreach.
Nice.
I mean, this is a community needs assessment, which is something that social workers do. Exactly that, figuring out, qualitatively kind of assigning opinions to little buckets, and, you know, trying to figure out how, if they can work together, and then, you know, what do most of the people want and why. And I think one of the bonuses that we have is that we have outdoor pool season coming up. And so one of the places we can seek input is at the pool. You know, one of the people, if you are one of the people that goes to the pool, when you're right there, you can either say or tell someone or write it down or scan a QR code or something saying, hey, I was just here to be really nice if X, Y, Z, or, you know, I really like this. But I think that that's an opportunity that we should set up. I know that that's probably early on in the process, but getting people to see this in real time for the thing that they're going to is probably valuable.
Any other thoughts?
I do, and so when you collect data from folks, you should also share it out so that they know that they're being listened to. So, you know, if this summer was about collecting initial findings, share that out at the end of the summer, when the pool cools. I know there's like a big day to close the pool. That's an opportunity to share that out and create kind of buy-in.
I think it would be helpful to, I don't know if clarify is the word, but to understand the relationship with the rec operationally with this data that we get, and like if this committee gets a whole list of kind of daily operational type suggestions about the rec, do we share that back kind of immediately, midsummer? Like, where is it in the timeline, or is it just part of the thing at the end, which seems late for people feeling like their voices were heard? So just kind of clarifying those relationships and that kind of channeling of information.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. Okay. So yeah, we can keep developing this idea, and you know, as we get closer to really starting community feedback, then this will be more and more relevant, and we can drill into the details. All right, let's go to item 10, which is background information for future meetings. So as we're looking ahead, as we all kind of understand, it would be really important to gather some baseline info. So that means, what are the current conditions of the pool facility? What are the operational and maintenance costs? What past improvements or repairs have been made? But also maybe looking at examples of nearby aquatic facilities and communities and seeing how they are currently and how they operate. Other kinds of information that you think you'd like to see that we should start exploring. A lot of this is information that will have to come from the rec as of right now, and that makes a lot of sense. But other things that, I've been writing down some suggestions, but other things that you think we should have by next meeting?
I was just gonna say, if the rec does do like their year in review, what happened last year at their pool, that would be nice to know.
I guess just picking up back off that, just what are their general plans for the summer? Like when they're planning on opening, closing, any immediate things they see being an issue?
And I don't mind volunteering to do maybe some digging in on other communities and what they have, or what they've recently built, what they, how they got there. But I was gonna ask, and maybe Juan, if you had any ideas of like 3 different companies that might do the feasibility or like the analysis that we could get bids from, that we could utilize to then present for funding. Are you aware of any, or do you feel like you could figure that out? I just,
Like
having
structural-
operational experience, I thought you might. I'm not picking on you.
Yeah, no worries. No, like structural funding or like programming wise?
Yeah, no, structurally.
Structural. I mean, currently where I work at, I know they built the pool from scratch, it's an indoor pool in McCook, so I can ask the owner there like what that looked like, and then kind of bring
And
some
maybe if there's some
information.
vendors who do
Yeah.
that, yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. Anything else? All right. Great. Let's move on to item 11 then, which is talking about future topics and next steps. So the next meeting, we're going to be reviewing a lot of background info. I imagine that's going to be a big focus, is just learning a lot about the current status of things. And we'll be, eventually exploring other options for the pool and stuff like that. We talked about, I don't have a lot for this because I feel like we've already sort of talked about future topics, but are there any other items that folks want to kind of throw out there to add as we move forward, especially as we're looking kind of short term?
Well, I was thinking, while we're talking about all this, maybe a representative from the rec could come.
So we have a rep, but maybe having the director
Right,
come
that's
in
what I
and-
mean, someone who the day-to-day takes care of it day-to-day.
I like that.
Yeah,
Can the
even
pool
like a
operator-
present,
sorry,
yeah, like a presentation, kind of like, here's our challenges, here's what, like kind of hearing from them, the status, and then that I think would probably help us understand even what kind of expertise we need.
Right, and the challenges of every day running the pool.
Yeah, I think what I'll say is to hear from those that what worked well and what didn't. We just don't want to hear the negatives, but we want to know what really worked well and why was there security. There's no security people now at the pool for summer, so also.
Yeah, there's probably quite a lot of information within the people who work there, because they've probably had the same problems year after year after year that they either can't fix because it's not in the budget, or they don't, it's not physically possible, and they wish that they could be here right now screaming what the problem is, and we're sitting here wondering. So.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Well then, next on our list is just setting our next meeting date. And I'm going to add to that to also figure out the meeting location, just so that we can make sure that we're hitting on, all the points that we want to hit on. So, my suggestion would be next month. We could even do another Thursday if this works for folks. Generally speaking, we can also look at the same time if that makes it easier, or we can look at other times. If we are going to hold it at the rec, that might be a consideration just in terms of timing, to make sure that it's open and, there will be people there who potentially we could talk to. So any limitations, I guess, or let's just kind of throw something out here right now.
I'll say right now, I have a very odd schedule and I work evenings.
Okay.
So if it's in 1 month on the 16th, I work that week, but like, so it's every other Thursday that I work.
Okay.
And that'll probably change things, but I'm gonna try not to be.
No worries. So you said 16th is not a great day
Yeah,
for you?
but like the 9th or the 23rd is fine, and then other days of the week is also fine. Just, I apologize in advance for it. I'm like
that's
not
all
able
right.
to do like every month on the same day.
I was gonna say, I know we have board meetings the second Thursday of each month.
Okay. So that, we could also look at, let's think about this. We could also look at Tuesdays, like when there aren't city council meetings, so like the 21st is a possibility.
There's a Berlin Park District Board meeting Tuesday the 21st.
Okay. How about, so maybe let's look at the 23rd or the 30th?
I cannot make the 23rd.
Okay, all right.
What about Wednesdays?
We can look at Wednesdays.
Wednesday the 15th.
22nd? No, I work on the 15th. It is Tuesday.
Sorry, somebody threw out the 22nd?
Yeah.
How's that looking for people?
Good.
Yeah? All right.
That's fine.
And then,
It's your birthday? Oh, that's a good day to.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then in terms of timing, I'm just very quickly looking up the rec center's hours. They close at 7. So we could have our next meeting at the rec center. We could have it at 5:36. Maybe we plan for 5:30, just to not run up against the clock with the folks there.
I would say, I get out, I work till 5 in the city every Wednesday. It's our only mandatory day.
Okay. Okay. All right.
And I'm the boss of 2 boards, so.
Okay. All right.
So I can leave, today I left at 4:45, I can do that,
Yeah.
but 5:30 is hard for me, unfortunately.
I think just the office closes at that time, but the building still has like sports open all night, I think.
Okay. All right. Well, then let's do 6. We'll do 6 on the 22nd. And we can plan on that, and we'll hold it at the rec center. Okay. Everybody cool with that?
What's the address of what?
Address is.
I know where it is in my head, but
Yeah.
I'm just putting it in my calendar.
I don't think that's correct.
I think
Okay.
it's 65.
Yep. 6501.
Yeah.
Okay.
31st Street. Okay. All right. So we have that settled. Our next meeting will be April 22nd. That's a Wednesday at 6 p.m. at the Berwyn Recreation Center. Okay, great. If there's no further business, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate all your time. I'm looking forward to meeting again next month, and we'll keep our work going then. Thanks.